All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have it today. I'm hoping we've got good audio.
Same.
I'm hoping we've got good video. I think we're going to do it. We're going to pull it off today. We're going to make it work.
I think so. I think we're going to
All
do
right.
it today.
No technology issues. It helps coming back to your studio and doing a show from home.
Yeah, it's like
finally.
home court advantage almost.
I know. It's almost like we set it up to work that way.
We do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting just for the top of the hour to kick off the show, so thank you for joining us. If this is your first time joining us here at Converge PoE, welcome, welcome. We invite everybody to check in online. So as you arrive, just go ahead and check in and tell us where you're from. And with that, nice little invite, let's just dive in and get this show started. All right. Welcome to Converge PoE, where we discuss technology converging on power over Ethernet. In the past, we've covered everything from PoE lighting to Raspberry Pis, and this week we're going to live stream about live streaming. And it's a good time for this show. As you know, NAB New York starts tomorrow. And our good friends Paul and Tess over at Streaming Geeks are hosting their summit in the Big Apple on November 8th. It's a great time to be in New York.
Is it going to be chilly there? I've never been.
It's cold.
It seems like it's going to be pretty cold.
It's going to be cold. But I have my tickets. The good news is for the Streaming Geeks show, you can join online. I have my tickets to join online and get all the content. So who all is going to be at either event? So check in with us in the comments whether you're going to either or both of these events. Tell us if you're going, when you're going, what you're looking for. However, before that, I do want to make sure we kick the show off right. Let's get started. If you're new with us today, like I said, check in the comments, let you know. We love welcoming new people to the show. I'm Tyler Andrews, the head nerd here at PoE Texas. And as always, I have my lovely co-host, Miss Maria Medell, who keeps us up to date on all the techie news of the day.
I try to, at least. Thank you, Tyler. So based on the first article, I think this has actually been floating around for a little bit. I just haven't heard of it. But Facebook is apparently working on a cryptocurrency called Libra Crypto. Yeah, so they're trying to get it on the whole Bitcoin movement. But some of their 21 founding members include Uber, Lyft, and Spotify. And they all met in Geneva yesterday, I believe. So they met in Switzerland to sign the charter, just to kind of launch the whole thing. But some of their initial backers were Visa, eBay, PayPal, and even MasterCard. They pulled out.
MasterCard pulled out.
They backed out.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see a lot of details as to why, but I think it has to do a lot with the fact that they're under scrutiny for people not thinking they have the right resources to manage an online financial institution almost. Mm-hmm. So they said the release date is supposed to be set for 2020. They said they released the idea back in June. But again, I have been probably living under a rock. I had no idea this was even a thing. So some regulators and lawmakers, as I said, don't think that Facebook is going to have the capability to support this or manage it. But I guess we'll see. So let us know what you think, if you're into the cryptocurrency idea, if you've read up on Libra, or kind of where you stand on the whole idea.
Yeah. Does anybody out there do cryptocurrency? I've never done crypto.
I have never done it either. I am kind of lost on the whole idea.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
I have met some Bitcoin miners. I mean,
really?
Yeah. You go to some trade shows and technology trade shows, and you usually see them around there. And if you're a cryptocurrency person, please take this as a statement that I know nothing about, so I'm totally unqualified. But they strike me as a little bit like prospectors, right? You get all like you have this vision in your head of a prospector, all range and different kinds of people. And frankly, cryptocurrency people strike me as prospectors. You'll see them walking around in their flip-flops and they're carrying computers, and just it's an interesting range of people, especially when you start getting into it professionally.
Yeah, I think I'm curious to see because I know obviously people are doing it and it's semi-taking off, but I'm curious to see if or when it's going to start showing up as a payment option online, because now you can even use Amazon Pay, you can use your Apple Pay really quickly, so I'm wondering if those are going to start showing up. I don't know.
That's a good question. They've been out there for a long time, but they still haven't shown up as a payment option for most Like just mainstream payment. I know there are a couple things that have done it, but I haven't gone mainstream yet.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm for it not going. I'm still kind of confused by it. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right.
And then the next one I saw, it seems like something completely out of a sci-fi movie, so I was excited. Boeing and Porsche are working together to build a flying electric car.
Wow.
So kind of George Jetson is coming to life. So last Thursday they announced that how they want to get into the quote air mobility market with a fully electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. So it sounds like a drivable spaceship.
Interesting.
Yes. It does sound exciting and futuristic, but to me, kind of terrifying. Tyler knows I hate flying. I'm scared of all types of heights. So I don't know if I'd be their target market. I probably wouldn't buy it. Obviously, can't afford a Porsche either. But no further details were given. So I don't even know any more further than this. They want to build a flying electric car. They haven't released a date, a price, or any ideas on any progress or anything.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can tell you, just watching some stuff about electric flying vehicles, they are putting themselves up for a very, very difficult project.
Oh, I bet.
Because, as of today, there have been a handful of electric flying vehicles that would be large enough potentially to carry a person on them. And
so even for like a small roadster, just like a 2-seater, it'd be pretty hard.
It would be hard. The problem is the weight to energy requirement ratio. So, I mean, just simple math. The guy over at Real Engineering did a whole show on it, and I thought it was very cool. So if you want to go back and watch it, Real Engineering, he talks about electric vehicles and electric flying vehicles in particular and why they're a difficult one. And they're difficult because you've got this weight to power ratio where the amount of power required that's stored in the batteries makes it it's like that rocket equation. Have you ever seen the rocket equation?
I have not.
The more rocket fuel you add on means the more fuel you have to add to fly the fuel. So it just becomes this compounding problem. It's the same thing with batteries. So until they can really trim up battery weight for storage, it's going to be difficult.
Interesting.
Especially
I also want to see if
vertical
it's going to be
takeoff.
stylish.
Yeah.
I know Porsches, everyone, they look really pretty on the road. So if it's going to be clunky like I'm going to get completely embarrassed by this, but the car in Back to the Future. The DeLorean? Yes.
You think the DeLorean looks clunky?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's very geometric and it looks, just like, I don't know, it looks clunky.
Oh, jeez.
Don't hate me.
That's an icon of at least my generation, the DeLorean. I mean, that was like everybody wanted the DeLorean.
Yeah, it might have. Yeah, maybe back then. I don't know. It doesn't seem. If I saw it on the road now, I would probably not think it looked cool.
But it had the Falcon doors.
It does have the Falcon doors. So maybe if they add that, it'll be better. But yeah, I'm curious to see what it'll look like.
All right. Well, thank you, Maria, for bringing those up. Very interesting. I love to find out about these. I love what Maria brings with her news topics. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to the show and start talking about streaming with an iPad. All right. In our last video, when we talked about live streaming, y'all asked me if our PoE to Lightning device, we call it the GAF Lightning PD, and Maria will throw that into the comments if you can.
Yes.
Asked if it can make an NDI input out of your iPad or iPhone. And I wanted to show you the results today. So today's show, we'll talk about the pros and cons of using an iPad as a camera, as well as answer questions on how to make it work. So throw your questions up. If you have specific questions or want to see something, I'm going to cover just the general process of adding it as an input into a couple of different systems, actually. So the first question we want to ask is why would you use an iPad for live streaming? People have asked us; they want it. This is obviously what our audience is asking for. You guys out there have asked it, and so how would you put it to good use? Why would you use an iPad? So let us know. Talk in the comments while I bring up the the show on how to use an iPad as an NDI input. All right, so y'all found, I want to show you what I found with using an iPad as an NDI source in VMix and some other software options you have for using an iPad in streaming applications. We'll start by talking about why PoE makes such a big difference when you're trying to stream using an iPad. As most of you likely know, which is why you're watching the show today, you don't want to rely on wireless communications, or you want to rely on as little as possible when you're streaming either video or audio. And simple question is but why? Well, it all comes down to radio interference. Wi-Fi still communicates on broadcasted radio waves that just go out in all directions. And with so many wireless devices these days, the frequency band that Wi-Fi operates in is getting really congested. And you can see this is just an example here of one analysis of the kind of congestion you're seeing on your Wi-Fi network. And you're competing for that with your video. Unless you're way out in the country by yourself, odds are you're picking up a bunch of competing wireless signals that can interfere with your video signal. In fact, let's if you take a quick challenge, and I'll ask Maria to do it, count the number of wireless signals you get on your phone, and then tell us in the comments. YouTube will freak out. YouTube and Facebook will freak out that everybody might be dropping off the stream for a minute, but you know, I think it's worth it.
Immediately, I have 10.
You have 10.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 10 on there. Let me see how many I've got.
I think it's still trying to search for more. So yeah.
And I think that's just limited, like what your phone will do. And as I check out my phone, Wi-Fi, yeah, I get the full complement. Even a couple of competing networks that are internal networks. So, yeah. And so let's jump back into it. So come on back if you're not back yet. We'll come back in. Don't leave the live stream yet.
Not yet.
All of that noise adds latency and interruptions to your video stream. And we all want to avoid that. Streaming from your iPad or iPhone through a wired connection should, and partially, and this is why I want to, this is important information, take care of that for you. And that's where our GAF Lightning PD and our new GAT USB-C PD come into play. The GAT USB-C PD just came out this week, and it does wired power and data to the iPad, to the Surface Go, and other tablet devices. We just had a hiccup. Apple just changed their PD profile on the iPad Pro, which means we got to rejig our tools and our communication to the iPad Pro to get it to work for the iPad Pro. But that's coming. Both of these devices connect directly to the network and charge at the same time, so you don't have to worry about whether your iPad will run out of battery during the middle of the show, like we're doing today. Hey, Tom, I like that. Tom is getting only 2 or 3. Wow.
And 2 are his. So
and 2 are his.
He's getting his 2 own and then 1 extra.
Man, Tommy, I like that. That is great. I'm a little jealous. I want to be out where Tommy lives.
Oh, yeah.
Fewer radio waves. I think that's going to make you live longer, Tommy. I really do. I just all that radio interference.
Wears us out.
Yeah, it takes care of us. So awesome, Tommy. Thanks for responding. Well, let's show you guys how to do the configuration, which is very simple. So I'm going to bring up our configuration board, and you can see I've got an iPad here set up ready to go. Very easy. Some of the key steps I want to do, and I'll show you, is the process of doing it. So I'm going to just bring this back to 0. This is a PoE connection we have running back to our PoE switch. In this case, I'm going to recommend a layer 2 managed switch. NDI has some network requirements. We happen to have our little 4-port managed switch in the background running, and it does PoE+. So the steps I like to follow when doing this is I'll plug in, and you'll see the power light come on here. And then for those of you who don't know, if you just take your phone and turn on your camera and scan the QR code, it's going to take you to our full configuration page. Makes it really easy to set up. And you can just follow the steps. And then I like to turn on the iPad, and just for good practice purposes, I'll take it here to the general settings page. It lets me know everything is working when I plug it in. So all you need to do at this point is plug it in. You should see the Ethernet appear on the screen here. You should hear the nice little chime and have it start charging. And it's that simple. Then once you're plugged in, you're going to want to make sure you check on if you're connected, and on the general settings page, like I said, you see the Ethernet appear. Then there are a couple settings to optimize for streaming and frankly most applications. So I'm going to bring that up now. First of all, don't steal my iPad because you saw my code. What I'm showing here is you could see the network settings. I'm showing it here. You can check all your network settings. You can give it an IP address, a fixed IP address. You can check your MAC address. You can even renew your lease if you do network setting changes. So the first step that you want to go through is you definitely want to go back in and let me restart the video. I thought I had it on a loop. It should be looping. All right, we'll get that kicked off here in just a second. We'll start it over again, make it easier. So what you can see is I'm turning off the display settings, and then I go to the passcode. You want to go to passcode. Well, tell you what, I'm gonna. Hey Chris, these retail for $86.99 right now, and you can get them at discount from us if as a reseller, especially if you're one of our live streamers, Chris, and I know you. Let me flip this over to show you on the screen so you can see it. The first setting I like to come to is the display settings, because very often what happens is iPad will shut off automatically in the middle of your show. So I come to the display settings, and the auto lock I set to never. It just depends. If you don't want to do that and you want to save battery function, you can. The other option, the other one that's really quite important, is you come to the Touch ID and passcode. This one not many people know about, but what you need to do is come down here to USB accessories, and it's this very bottom one. The color is odd. It shows it kind of gray, but it's green. USB accessories needs to be turned on. I think now the software updates are bringing it on as default, but that one is important because if your iPad does lock or shut off, if this is off, it will boot our device off of the iPad. So we talked about display and brightness, and then we go to passcode, enabling USB accessories, and then finally you can come back to the Ethernet settings, and you'll see PoE Texas LAN here. This lets you adjust your iPad settings with like a fixed IP address, which a lot of people recommend with NDI. In our case, we didn't feel like it was super necessary. And that's it. You're done configuring. There aren't apps to install. There aren't a lot of configurations and plugins. It should work right away with what you need. But now you do need to start thinking about the software to distribute the video stream. Unfortunately, the iPad does not have doesn't have the information to stream the data natively. So you will need to find an app.
Almost for everything these days. Need an app for everything.
Well, and Chris, you asked the question, does the video look better over Ethernet? The answer is definitely, because it has to do with latency. One of the biggest issues you're going to find when you're doing this is if you're doing this over a wireless network, unless you've got a like super powered, high dedicated wireless network, you're going to see a lot of latency. And in fact, even with wired Ethernet, you still see some latency. And I'll cover that and I'll show that after we've uploaded the software so you can see what that looks like. So great question, Chris. Can I come back to that? So since we started with the idea of streaming from an iPad to VMix, we went ahead and simply did a search for an NDI camera on the App Store, and we decided to try a couple of them to see how they turned out. We'll share with you what we found was the best solution with VMix and OBS. I'm going to pause though, and I know we've got Tom and we got Chris. Both are big VMix guys. I see you guys all the time on the VMix live streams. Yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. The NDI over wireless is terrible. It improves it somewhat, especially with VMix, and I'm going to talk about it because let's hope VMix can do an update when we talk about the apps. If you notice, I'm going to come back here to my video. There are a couple NDI apps on there. You'll find at the very top, this is the NDI, the new NDI-HX camera, which is kind of NDI's new standard. Then there's some like this EPOC. I tried the cameras for OBS, and spoiler alert, they were not materially better than the NDI cameras. In fact, both the NDI cameras were slightly better, in my opinion. So we'll start. We started with this NDI camera, but there is an alternative. If you're just getting started streaming and you are looking for an iPad-based solution that works right out of the box and lets you actually do everything on iPad, I found this when I was at NAB in Vegas after we did after I hung out with Tom Sinclair and all the streaming idiots at the Streaming Idiots party. I went by the new Tech Pavilion and found this interesting company called Switcher Studio that has made a completely iPad-based streaming studio. And Maria will throw the link up on there. I wanted to show that. It is a very interesting solution. We're going to take a quick look at it. Not go into it too much depth because you guys aren't there, but I'll ask if any of you have played with Switcher Studio or any of their products, and let us know what you think in the comments and whether you think it's worth trying to set up. Now, as a disclaimer, I haven't finished setting up a full studio setup here for two reasons, which I'll get into. So I'm by no means a Switcher Studio expert. If you're an expert, comment, talk about it, let us know. Here are my observations to start. Pros, it's a very intuitive interface to work with. It works great with iPads. You can be up and running very quickly with a pretty professional feel. It is the ability to use the iPads and the phones for cameras. The streaming quality is fantastic. I was really impressed with that. Whether you're using wireless or wired, wired is obviously better for good reasons. The video quality looks great, and one of the things that I like is they have a software tool that automatically syncs up your audio, which I thought was very good. Now, the cons are this software can only stream to one channel at a time, and this has been the big reason I haven't finished setting up a studio for this app. If you're streaming to multiple channels like we do, you have to use Restream.io. And aside from the extra cost of paying for Restream, the big challenge is I haven't been able to figure out the integration to display y'all's comments on Switcher while streaming to multiple platforms. And we feel like getting your input is so important. We didn't want to even take a chance on that. And then Tommy, I'm just checking here on the comments. Tommy said, I've found a different latency between IP cam brands, and Reolink is less latency than the no-name brand I use. In fact, I know, Tommy, I watched your video on testing the Reolink camera. So if you're curious and you want to see it, go back and watch Tom's video about Reolink. You can find him at Tom Willis. It was an interesting video. I watched it. I learned a little bit about it, and it was finally fun to hear Tommy's voice.
Oh, I bet.
He didn't show his face, though. We didn't get to see him. So you have, and then Chris said he's got some friends who've used Switcher Studio, but he hasn't. Okay, very cool. Well, I'd love to get your feedback. Let them know about this video, see what they think. The final con that I have with Switcher Studio is the price of the software itself. Over the course of a year, Switcher Studio will cost you more than a VMix license, which is already a premium over OBS. But if you already have the iPads, having to go out and invest in quality cameras like Tommy's talking about, even with you investing in Reolink, investing in some quality cameras, quality microphones, all of that to work with VMix, that will, in the end, cost you significantly more than just Switcher Studio if you already have the iPads. So the software cost is more, but the all-in package. Now the other thing is all in my thoughts on the software, that the biggest challenge with producing your own live stream is getting as close to that polished professional feel as possible while staying in your budget. And you all have seen some of the struggles we've gone through on our show to accomplish it, even now.
Yeah.
The quality to simplicity ratio on Switcher Studio as a software, I felt was pretty high. And if you're just starting out, you only have a couple of iPads and iPhones lying around, and you don't need to stream to multiple channels or don't need to see comments on screen, then you're likely going to save money and get set up faster than trying to get all the hardware and all the setup you need for VMix and OBS. I mean, it's taken us a good 5 months to really tune in our equipment, trying a few things, and we've probably spent more than if we just started with an iPad. Like I said, the big con that's holding us back, it would be the only thing that's coming back is the comments, getting y'all's comments. So Chris says, I can see a use for Switcher Studio, but it would never be my go-to for Switcher. Now, I can see that. And that's a very valid point.
Yeah, I don't know why, but the first thing that comes to mind when you mentioned Switcher being a benefit, if you don't need to see comments or anything like that, but you want it to be professional, is HSN. Just, when they're trying to show all the products that they're selling on that shopping network, they don't really get any viewer comments. They just show you the product, tell you the price, show you how it works, and that's all they need.
That's true. And Amazon live streaming, I found Amazon live streaming is that you can comment on Amazon live streaming, but you can't display it.
That's
so
true.
If you're a first-time Amazon live streamer and you really want to up your game very quickly, it's the nice part about the Switcher Studio. It's a low upfront cost. It's a monthly subscription, which is why I said over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking, hey, I want to up it from being able to just take the Amazon Creator app, and film myself to a studio environment, that may be an application that I can see it. Yep. So that sorry, I just saw out of the corner of my eye Tommy's comment about his face. It's a handsome face, Tommy. I never say that about it. So anyway, I think there's a situation and an application when Switcher Studio applies.
Definitely.
And I think what's good about it is the quality of the video you can get on an iPad is really good, and the ease and the speed. Now they're not, by the way, they are not sponsoring this. I just think some technology is cool, and I like to check it out, especially when it complements our product lines. So getting back to it. Now we're going to go back and start talking about VMix and OBS, because a lot of you guys have VMix and OBS out there and are all set up on them. So we talked about the integration apps for VMix and OBS, and so we're going to start with the $10 NDI camera. It's the cheaper of the option and has been around the longest. And I'll do a quick surprise. This is what we used for our configuration camera today. So I'm actually filming off of an iPad right now. And the integration into VMix is relatively simple. So I'm going to bring up a video here to show me setting up this iPad So you download the app onto your phone or tablet. And a quick note here, make sure to enable the camera and microphone. It took me a day to figure out why it wouldn't come on. The app gets upset if you don't do both. And then a quick note here, Chris, you were talking about the latency. You need to sacrifice a little quality for speed. We found that the quality bar on the app, when it was at its maximum, it was getting a little laggy to VMix. And let me see if I can show you what that looks like. I'm going to bring this up. This is me trying to do a balance setup on latency. So here's my hand. I'm just snapping it here. You can see it's a fairly balanced. It's definitely not great for sports. If you're doing like really fast, you can see some of the loss with your hands. And so you want to adjust, as you saw in my little video here. Oh, not that one. Wrong one. Still, sorry guys. Let me pull up my. Here we are. You can see that quality to speed bar across the top. And by the way, I recommend disabling the audio. This happened to me the last time I was doing it because it'll bring up the audio and it'll mix it into VMix. So don't forget to shut off the audio to your iPad. It will become an audio source automatically. And then you adjust that speed bar down until you get fairly low latency, like we were talking about. So any questions for me, guys, about how to set up the camera? Now I'm going to bring up the, I apologize here, I am going to bring up my desktop. So you can see Maria and I here smiling at each other. I'm going to show you how you actually bring up as an input into VMix. You simply come down to input, you pick an NDI capture, and then here it is. You just select the item and bring it on. Very, very simple. Now, you'll notice I got this other one, iPad. I'm going to bring this one up so you guys can see what's happened. This is for the NDI HX camera. And I'll come back to this in a little bit. There's an issue with it, with VMix. But I want to talk about OBS. The steps for OBS are about the same. You still have to do the same steps for bringing on the app and making the selections. The key step you need to know about with NDI and OBS is the NDI to OBS plugin. And Maria, if you can make sure you throw that link in the comments. You just need to follow the links we're adding to the comments. And then remember to reboot your computer. Then when you're adding a new device, you come to your OBS. I'm going to just get rid of this so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to, you can't see this, I'm going to turn on one of my cameras as the NDI source. Make sure it's running. Here we go. And make sure it's pointed in the right direction so you can actually see something. I'm getting rid of this as an NDI source so you can see me adding it. You simply come to adding source and then you pick an NDI source, not a video capture device. It's an NDI source. And then you bring it on, and I'm just going to create new. Oh, it's trying to make a scene. I'm not trying to make a scene here, guys. We'll just call it NDI source. You can rename it how you like. Select your source name, and I'm going to do the iPad NDI HX camera. And there you go. Brings it up. Now, pro tip, if you're playing around with multiple apps like the old NDI app and the new NDI app, don't try and run them both on one iPad. It starts really confusing OBS and VMix, and it gets the cameras all confused. So pick one app. You can have both installed, but just shut one down. You know, where you double click on the button and throw it up, just shut down that software. And so right now, what I'm actually showing you guys is this is the NDI HX camera from Sienna. And here's the bad news. This is one of the better, like if you look at the latency, I'm going to wave my hand over the top. It gets very good latency to OBS. Let me see if I can get my hand in front of the camera. It gets very good latency. You get a good quality. This is maximum quality. Go to a middle quality. Now I'll also point out that these cameras start to slow down as you add more cameras onto your network. So I'm not sure I'd recommend having 4 or 5 iPad cameras all trying to run on the same NDI network. You can see I'm getting some latency here. And we found when you're running just one camera, it gets better. And then I'm going to, I talked about this, the new NDI HX camera. In VMix, if you try to add the new NDI HX camera, it can't support the NDI 4. And let me show you what that looks like. So if you can see the screen here, basically it says that you need NDI 4 SDK. In VMix, I called Tom over at Streaming Idiots, and Tom said VMix cannot support NDI 4, which the new app requires. Tom knows more about VMix than anyone in America, and he explained to me that VMix is planning to integrate NDI 4 into future updates, but it's not here today. So you can get it working in OBS, but you can't get it in VMix. And you can see some of the issues we're having with latency. You have to kind of do some optimizing when you're putting it up, in both cases. So for example, I'm going to switch over back to my camera that's pointing down. It's got low latency now, but my HX camera does. So I like and so you just have to find that balance. But with the HX camera to OBS, I felt like that had the best latency and resolution combined. So I'm gonna switch back here to bring back our lovely Miss Maria, and I'm gonna take off my face here. So come on, there we are. So what questions do you guys have about how we did the setup and the configuration of these cameras, and do you feel, what did you feel? And while you do that, I did play around with 2 other apps that are NDI based cameras for OBS, and frankly the latency was not as good, all things considered. So but we would love if you want to test them out using our GF Lightning PD and tell us if you can find ways to improve their performance. And yeah, Chris, I think it's not ideal for a full setup on VMix right now. I think that if you're looking to do a full iPad setup, Switcher Studio is probably a better alternative, or to use one of the devices that connects your iPad directly to your computer over USB. I think that until the NDI HX camera is on VMix, I think you're going to still see some struggles. So I wish I had better news for y'all, but there is hope for the iPad for streaming applications, but it's not going to be directly today. So yeah, guys,
we had to test it out though.
Yeah, we wanted to
these
know
projects, and we got to figure it out.
And I think it looks pretty cool. And I do think you can use the iPad for a VMix call.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my experience with the VMix calls was very good. So use the GF Lightning PD with a VMix call. So if somebody's trying to do a VMix call with remote location, that could work well. Yeah, Tommy, it's a tool to have in your toolbox if you got in a pinch. If you wanted like a head-down camera, like I've got here set up in front of me that points down on a table, it could work very well. It's probably not going to be your best for sporting events, capturing everybody live.
Yeah, I mean, iPads are really common too. Almost, everyone or every company would have at least one iPad. So if they did need it last minute, you can likely turn it into something.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you guys think we missed? Are there things that you want us to test, the configurations that we missed testing on? Yeah, so if Chris, you're willing to test it out, I know I've seen on Facebook you posting about it, so we should get one over to Chris and see if he can give it a test out. So
send
Chris,
us an email.
Yeah, send us an email. You can either email service@poetexas.com, or you can email Maria directly at Medel, MEDEL, at PoETexas.com.
Yep.
Just so she can get that information to you. And Chris, we'd love to have you test that out and work with us. So thank you very much for the offer. I think that's great. So continue to let us know what we can do for improving our testing and doing what you want to do with this. And also, this is an interesting one because I know you guys have some of this interest out there. Let us know if you're interested in some audio mixing applications. We have been working with a company called Audio Fusion on an audio mixing app, live audio mixing app for iPads. And you can check it out on a video here, and I'll ask Maria to link that in the and it didn't end up on my email that I sent you, but if you go to the docs, we'll get it up on the comments. So we'll get it there in just a second. And for Switcher Studio, we've got it in the comments. You can find the app on the App Store. Just search for Switcher Studio or go to switcherstudio.com to set up an account. So, I mean, that's what I have for you guys. And I've been waiting to do this show for a while, so I'm glad we got to do it. So now I'm going to hand it back to Maria to talk about some of the future about where we're going here at PoE Texas with our videos.
Yes. So I know typically we talk about some of the stuff I have going on with PoE Connect and our Facebook pages, but I have a different type of announcement today. So we're going to actually be bringing you some more product videos. Some will be demo videos, some will be announcement videos of all the new projects and products that Tyler thinks up in his mind. But all is meant to let you see PoE Texas products in actual use, in the applications they're designed for, what applications we think are cool for them, just so y'all can see the many ways they can be installed. So check them out on our YouTube channel and even Instagram TV. We have all the videos going up there. And then leave us comments about what video or product you'd like to see next. If there's one that we haven't done that you want to see, have questions about its functionality, let us know and we can get one up for you. We just want to make sure to bring you all the content y'all want, and any videos or products questions that you guys have answers about. Want to make sure to bring y'all all that.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna thank the viewers again for the continued support. Y'all are the reason that we are able to bring you these kind of videos and this type of live streaming and the topics. So yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, guys. If you find our show interesting or helpful, please share it with your friends, colleagues, and even your customers. You might be shocked to find out that sharing these kinds of shows on your social channels boosts your credibility as an expert. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share, and keep up to date with the exciting world of Power over Ethernet. And we'll see you next month at our next live show. Thanks for coming. That was a good show. It was a little bit faster than normal. I felt like we didn't go an hour, but I thought that was good that we got through it.
I don't think it. Yeah, we had good feedback. It's like Tanya was heading out to